Let's continue working on 4 knights game Scotch variation. Knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, knight f6, d4. ed, knight d4, the main move is bishop b4, knight takes c6, b takes c6, and then we go bishop to d3. The main move for black is d5. Basically, black has to do that if he wants to fight for initiative. We will see later, we will be talking about other moves like short castle in move 7 and d6, where black wants to do something else, doesn't want to go into the main variation, but we will see that those variations are unsound. White can gain advantage very quickly. So the main and the best move for black is d5. Then we take. In the previous video, in the introduction video, we did knight takes d5. We saw it's not very good for black and everything. Black can do some other things. Of course, that cd5 is the main move, and we will, okay, we'll spend a lot of time analyzing this. But before we jump to this main variation, I have to show you queen e7 move. Queen e7 check is quite popular move, especially among stronger players, titled players. And what is black trying to do here? Black wants to force us to trade queens or to play bishop e3. But bishop e3 is not what we want to do in this opening. Anyway, we basically have no choice. Queen e2 is the right move for us. And then black takes. Black basically has to take. This is quite, as I said, quite popular line. Stronger players mainly play this, but I have to tell you something. White always has advantage in these variations after king takes e2. Why? Because we always have more space. We have better development, and even though we have slight advantage, that slight advantage is long-term advantage. It's very hard for us to lose it. It's very stable position for white, and generally speaking, this whole opening, this whole concept, whole system for white is very solid, and it's very hard to lose if you play normally. Okay, now after king e2, by the way, why did we take with the king? I mean, what was alternative? Alternative was bishop takes. I mean, our bishop is well placed on d3. Also, queens are off the board. Our king is totally safe in the center. Now on king e2, the main move for black is cd5, but I want to see what happens if bishop c3. Black decides to weaken our pawn structure. But you know what? That dark squared bishop is priceless. If black does that, he's just helping us, basically. bc3, cd5, black undoubles his pawns. If knight takes d5, pawn structure is symmetrical, but we are better because of bishop pair. Okay, we just go bishop to d2, they do something, castling or bishop e6, it doesn't matter. And then we have this interesting move. Don't rush with c4, very important to say. We will probably play c4, but later, not yet. We need to take care of the king first. What to do with the king, where to put the king. I'll show you this idea. Later we will talk about some other lines, other variations, and there are a few variations where queens are exchanged. In almost all of them, we put the king on f2. That's the thing. The king goes to f2. We develop our rooks. We can even push these kingside pawns, maybe c4 at some point. As I said, we have bishop pair, we have slight but stable and long-term advantage. Okay, in this position it is more logical for black to take with the pawn because black's pawn structure gets better with this. On cd5, we should play bishop a3 to prevent castling. Now black will have no choice. He will probably do the same thing as we, put the king in the center. So bishop e6 is the move. Now what should we do with the king? Of course, f3. King d7. Now we should play rook h to d1. They probably go rook e8. We go king f2. We have c4 ideas to undouble our pawns, and this is quite unpleasant for black. Plus, later we can gain space on the king side. This is an interesting idea, to push our king side pawns and gain some space on that side of the board, and later why not push g5 and misplace the knight. We have bishop pair, and we're slightly better in this position. Okay, so this is main line, and black, instead of taking cd5, this is the main move, he goes queen e7. Queen e2, queen e2, king e2, bishop c3, bc3. So on cd5, the right move is bishop a3, and then just go for f3, king f2, rook e1, rook d1. Play normal chess. White is always better. What happens if black doesn't take on c3? Sorry, black goes for knight takes d5. If knight takes d5, we will simply take. Yes, we are improving black's pawn structure, but it doesn't matter. We're slightly better here anyway, and you know what? We just want to develop our pieces as quickly as possible. Knight d5, cd5, bishop f4 should be played. We're hitting the pawn on c7. They play c6. We play c3. They go back to e7. c5 would not be such a good idea. This move is nothing special. We'll just go b4 with tempo. Bishop e7 is more flexible, and then we go b4 regardless. Why are we doing that? We kind of want to fix black's pawns on the queen side. They castle short. Now we should go bishop e3. This diagonal is empty. Okay, our bishop seems good on this diagonal. You see, it is controlling a lot of squares, but actually, you know what? That diagonal doesn't help us with anything. I mean, there is nothing important happening on that diagonal. This diagonal is much more important for us. Bishop e3. They probably go a5. We go a3. They go bishop e6. We go bishop b6 to force black to decide what to do with that pawn. If black takes, taking is a mistake. First mistake. Then a takes b4 should be played, and white is clearly better in this position. Pawn structure is more or less, you see, even in a way, like none of us have double pawns or something like that, pawn weaknesses, but we do have much more space. We have much more active king. It's uncomparable. Our king on e2 is perfect. I mean, black king is far from the center, and every endgame is basically better for white. So just play slowly in this position, and it's great. It's great. We have bishop a6 idea as well. What else can we do in this position? We can still go f3 and maybe king f2. Our king is also well placed on d2. You will see where to put the king. It depends, really. We don't know what will black do in this position. I mean, we will play... I mean, it depends on black. We don't know. If bishop f6, for example, of course that we will play something like king d2. Anyway, as I said, white is slightly better, and that's it. Now, what happens if black pushes a4? In that case, we just go rook e1. We just go king to d2. We just go g3. Our h2 pawn is not hanging, but it doesn't matter. We want to improve, slowly improve our position, step by step. We go rook a to b1. They play c5. We take, they take, we take, they take. And then we just go rook b4. There are some weaknesses in black's position. Both pawns are on light square, which is not good for black because there are light squared bishops on the board. So, for example, if we manage to exchange both rooks, that means that bishop endgame is won for us, because you see all black pawns are placed badly. Okay, this is a little bit longer variation, but it is definitely worth it to see everything, to see what happens not only in the beginning, not only in the opening, but we have to see what to do in the early middle game, what is our plan. That's quite important. If you learn openings mechanically, if you just try to memorize them, learn them by heart, if you don't understand anything, that's totally wrong approach. So you have to know what to do if this happens. You know, some people would stop, say white is slightly better in this position, and that's it. No, you have to know what to do later, how to continue. Now let's see the main move. The main move is CD5. If CD5 is played, we should just go knight B5. This is the strongest move. C7 is hanging. Black can do what? Black can go bishop A5 or king to D8, or maybe king to D7, but that's not that great. Anyway, let's see bishop A5 first. If bishop A5 is played, we will simply play bishop F4, develop the bishop with tempo. They play king D8 now. Then we just develop rook D1, rook HD1, bishop D7, then king goes to F1, rook B8, we defend the knight, they push, and then we have special move. We will see in some other variations we also play this move. The right move for white is B4, attacking the bishop. If they take our knight, we take their bishop. This is great exchange for us. Black's dark square bishop is very important. Generally speaking, it's one of black's most important pieces on the board, not only in this variation of 4-knight Scotch variation, but in almost every single variation here, that dark square bishop is a very important piece. So it's success when we eliminate it. Black takes on A4, we push the pawn, we go rook B1, we go rook B7 later, put pressure on this pawn. White is clearly better in this position. Black is up a pawn, but it doesn't really matter. We have that strong bishop pair, we have this deadly passed pawn in my opinion, and yeah, even though we are down a pawn, our position is much better. Oh, okay, maybe let's go from beginning just to see again how did we get here. Knight F3, Knight C6, Knight C3, Knight F6, D4, takes, Bishop B4, takes with the B pawn. We go Bishop D3, they go D5, that's the main move. They take with the pawn. Sorry, no, they don't take with it. This is the main line, they go Queen E7 first, yeah. This is what are we doing right now. We go Queen E2, Queen E2, King E2. We talked about Bishop takes C3. We saw this is not good for Black. Black is giving up his important bishop. We talked about Knight takes D5. On Knight takes D5, we take to this, and then just play this and pull the bishop back to E3. And at the end, we started analyzing CD. On CD, we just go Knight B5. They go Bishop A5, we go Bishop F4, and on King D8, Rook D1 should be played, King F1, and then don't forget this resource, B4 move. We know what to do if Black takes, but what happens if Bishop B6? If Bishop B6, then A5, we continue. Now AB would be terrible mistake, because after AB, we just win the game. Black cannot save the game now. The bishop is hanging. If they go Knight D7, we take Rook D5, and now Black can resign. Okay, maybe on B4, Bishop B6, A5. Black decides to take on B5 with the bishop. That would be better decision, but still we have better position. We take. They go Bishop E3. This is opening theory. It's weird move, but you know what? Black doesn't want to allow this. If AB, Black is lost, completely lost after this. What can Black do? If Rook B6, we simply have skewer on A8. So this is the main move. This is the best move for Black, to go Bishop E3 to force us to take his bishop on the E3 square, not on B6 square. We have to take, they take with the Rook, and then we just centralize our bishop. White is clearly better in this endgame. We have bishop that is dominating on D4. Black pieces are uncoordinated, passive. White is clearly better. Okay. One more thing to show you. When we go Knight B5, what happens if Black goes for King D8 straight away? If that happens, we can immediately go Rook D1. We could also go Bishop F4. That's also fine, but I think this is very similar thing. We can go rook d1 straight away. They go c6. We bring the knight back to d4. We're attacking c6 pawn. They go king c7. We go for check. They bring the bishop back. We take, they take, and now we should push c4. This is really good position for white. Black king is... Okay, some people will say well placed, but you know what? There are still a lot of pieces on the board, and I don't think that black king is safe there. Okay, so in the next move we will go rook c1, threaten to push, or maybe to take and put the bishop on c6. You know, we will see. Anyway, white is slightly better, and yeah, as I said a couple of times, white has good winning chances in this endgame. By the way, I will, of course, in all these different variations, I'll put in the PGN file. I will leave you different links with some really interesting and important games played in this opening. So please, when you see something like that, I mean, it would be good to review those games. It would be great to analyze those games, because they are very helpful and they will help you a lot. They will show you how to play in these not opening, you know, how to play in that stage after the opening, in the middle game or end game, what are typical ideas for white, and how you normally fight against black. Okay, we're done with queen e7. So if queen e7, we go queen e2, they take, we take with the king, and the conclusion is white is slightly better in every single variation. You just play normally, you just develop your pieces normally, and that's it. There is nothing to worry about. Black has to be very careful. White is always better because white has more space. In some variations we have bishop pair. That happens very often, by the way. Also we have more space. As I said, we have a little bit more active pieces, and black definitely has to be more careful than us. Okay, we're done with this line. In the next video, of course, we will continue talking about 4 knights game Scotch variation. We will see some of the main variations in this opening.